what residual income can do is really give you a lifestyle that you want to create, give you the freedom monetarily that you need in order to make the moves that you have to make in your life, wherever you want to go. This type of job is not the norm. You don't know how many times I've had people say to me in sales, period, why don't you get a real job? Why don't you do something where you know the paycheck's going to come all the time? And that's the tough part if you're maybe that spouse that's looking at this opportunity for your significant other, your wife, your husband, whatever it may be, and you might be sitting there going, I don't think this is going to work out, right? However, if you're patient, you're supportive, and as long as that other person is driven, residual income is the way. Now, I want to get Pao on here. Let me make sure I got Pao. Oh, let's go here. Pao, can you hear me?
I can, Sam. Hello. How are you?
I am doing so great. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you so much. I just came back from Mexico, so back in Florida, living the life.
Living the life. I can't wait to talk about that life either. So Pao, I appreciate you being on. I hear you in the background once in a while when I call Joe. I see you all the time on Facebook. You guys are living a great life. But let's talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, the beginning.
Awesome. For sure.
For sure.
So the beginning.
Well, so hold on, Pao, real quickly. Now, how long have you and Joe been married?
We have been married since 2011, so it's kind of hard because it would drive Joe crazy. Legally, 7 years, by the church, 5 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I count both. But we have been together for almost 10 years.
Oh, that's great. And you guys are, obviously, you're doing great. I know that for a fact. Now, when you met Joe, and you don't have to tell us everything here, okay, Pao?
All right.
When you first met Joe, obviously, you guys hit it off. Did you know what kind of business Joe was involved with?
You know what? It was actually really cool now thinking about it. So I met Joe in Puerto Vallarta. That's how we met, but going back to July 2008. Joe was not in merchant services yet. He was doing a business the first time he was introduced to residual income. So thanks to that, looking for that opportunity, he was able to be down in Mexico for 3 weeks partying straight. So I remember when I met Joe, his quote was like, another day at the office, just going to the beach every day. It didn't make sense for anyone, but he was already sold on residual income, freedom, on your life, and do whatever you want. So thanks to that trip and thanks to that mindset he got back then, we were able to meet, and the rest is story.
That's right. So already at the time, he may not have been in merchant services yet, but he was all about residual income, right?
Also, he will not do anything else that did not involve residual income.
That's correct, and I know that for a fact because I've known Joe for quite a while as well. So you met Joe. You were kind of like, all right, this guy's crazy. He's in Mexico partying for 3 months straight, and he goes to work on the beach. What's going on, right? Fast forward a little bit. Now you know Joe a little bit more. You guys are about to get married, and he got into the merchant services when? Like right before you guys got married or right after you got married?
You know what? It was really funny because it was right when he came back from that trip. He flew into Seattle in his sandals and swim shorts, ready to keep doing his tropical life in a rainy, cold weather. And that's when he said, screw this, I'm moving to Florida. And it was not long after that he got introduced to his first merchant service business, and he was all in. That got him to stay in Philadelphia a couple more months in the cold weather, which he does not like. but that's how into he was. He was willing to be in the snow and the cold weather to make it happen.
Yes. So enough about Joe. Okay. Joe went after his goal. Joe said, I'm going to do this. How did you feel about that?
You know what, Sam? At first it was a little scary, just being honest. It was something so out of the typical, so out of the norm. But at the same time, the idea of just knowing you can own your life like that, it was so appealing. So from day one, I was like, who am I, first of all, to cut my husband's wings, right? My husband is a free soul. Whoever knows Joe or whoever has a chance to chat with him or whatever, he's a free soul. You cannot put him in a cage because that will be the end of him. But at the same time, I feel we all are like that. So I have my doubts. Of course I have my doubts. But I'm not who to put my doubts into him. I was more like, okay, you say you got it. You say you're going to make it happen. Go for it. Go make it happen. So it was not easy. Always, of course, it wasn't easy. When we first got together, we were really broke.
Tell me a little bit about. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but tell me a little bit more details. So Joe went off to Philadelphia. You're stuck with little Joe. Was Joey born at the time, your son?
No. So once again, thanks to Residual Income and that he was able to start that like really, really new. I was still in Mexico. So we were dating back and forth for a full year. But since he had already some residual income built, he was able to come and visit me, first of all, once a month. And then in the summer, he will stay for like 3 weeks or once or a full month. And my family, of course, as all typical families, were like, what the heck is going on with this guy? Doesn't he work? Like, what is he doing here? How can he be, like, doing nothing? But he was just comfortable knowing that by then he was little, his income was already coming in, whether he worked or no. He had already been working his butt off. So by the time I moved up with him up here, I was 6 months pregnant with little Joey, my first son. And we were not set by any means. We were still in the struggle. But I remember telling Joe, like, okay, so when are we buying a crib? When are we going to this? When are we going that? And he will be like, I got it. Don't worry. Just be patient. And life threw us curveballs. Like, our life was never perfect by any means. We worked continuously on it. But, like, I ended on bed rest. Probably you haven't listened to the story of 1 month after I moved to the U.S. I ended on bed rest. So it was like real. We're about to have a baby boy son, 6 months, pregnant. 3 months is still really early. We didn't have anything at that time. My mom was able to come up and help us buy a bed and a little table so we can eat and a little TV so I can keep myself entertained while Joe had to go work. But Joe's drive was so strong that he had never any doubt that he had to make it happen. So let's put it this way. He was probably at that point pushed against the wall, like I have no option, which I hope nobody has to be put into that position to make it happen and make it happen more comfortably. But he put himself on a quote or in a, like, I don't know, to say 1 a day. I will go out and I will get 1 a day. And it was really impressive because I remember, like, me being desperate as a wife now, of course, like, yo, we don't have a couch. Like, can we please get this place looking like a home? We don't have a couch. It was like, okay, I will be going to work, and he will go and sign up for furniture shop that day and come back with a couch. So he always has that drive to be focused and go get it.
So let me get this straight. You're 6 months pregnant. Joe and you move up to the States. Joe's on the road. Your mom comes up. She's helping you guys out with a table to eat on and a television so that you have something to do while Joe's on the road. And you didn't have a couch?
We did not have a couch. We had a bed and a 4-chair table to eat, some pots and pans, and nothing else. The rest, when we started, the family was able to help us. My mother-in-law gave me a crib. little by little. They threw like a little baby shower. Even when my first one was born back then, my tables were the boxes where the stroller came and the car seat and stuff. So I kind of got creative and make it cute, putting cute sheets on top of it and stuff like that. But that was our beginning. But tell me something, Sam. Even when we started like that, like really broke, nowadays we are like, yo, I cannot, like, not long ago we were talking about, like, I cannot believe we had $100 for groceries budget, like, with a baby, diapers included, formula, and somehow we made it work. But by the time Joey was 1 year old, our story was completely different.
Okay, so tell me, Pao, after Joey was 1, so you had the baby, Joey grew up. Now, how often was Joe out on the road every year?
That was hard. Yes, that was really hard. It involved a lot of sacrifices that most people might not understand, but at the moment it was what had to be done for us to get the life we dreamed about. There was no way we were giving up on what we thought was working and moving us forward. So Joe was gone Monday to Thursday every week for about a year, traveling.
Wow.
Sometimes he did not come back home because he was so far into the territory that it was not worth it for him to drive back home. So we will get to see him Friday, Saturday, and sometimes at like Sunday evening he had to be gone for his appointments or to hit a new road on Monday.
Well, yeah, you needed another couch. So
yeah.
so
I'm not a wife, Sam. I gotta be honest. I'm not a wife.
So Joe's out on the road. You're a little bit lonely. I'm sure that you were still having some doubts even then, but you were seeing the results of his hard work every month. Now, what was that like for you to know that, number one, I mean, you were holding it down, Pao. That's what we call holding it down. And not a lot of people are that strong. So that's awesome, because here's another thing I want to ask before we keep going. Did you share the same vision with Joe that Joe had and you both had together? How did that come about? Because I'll tell you what, if people don't have the same vision, and it sounds to me like, I don't mean this to sound condescending, but you knew your role in the vision and you knew Joe's role in the vision. How strong was that to begin with?
To say that I never have doubts will make me a liar, but that was not my role. My role there was to support my husband and push him the best he could be. And a JOB was not option for us. So we, yes, I understand the part that a lot of people say, like, I want to go back to a job and a regular salary and the comfort of that, but at what price? The thing is that, like, the price sometimes for me, now that I see the big vision and then now I see what we have been able to build and help others to build the same, to really be strapped in certain amount of money and a certain amount of hours, sometimes for me even looks more dangerous, if you want to put it that way, because life happens. I have friends that, like, they are stuck in that, like, please give me that comfort of, like, whatever income you get to have. But if you get sick, if you have any extra expense, you tax. You really don't have any options to make any more money because you have to show up from 9 to 5 every day. So for us I was like, you know what, Joe, yes, I understand. It was really hard. I mean, if it was hard for me being lonely, sometimes we only think on ourselves as being selfish. I can only imagine how hard it was for Joe. Joe didn't get to see his son walk for the very first time. I had to record those videos. But by the time I got my second pregnancy, which Joey was 3 years old, I got on bed rest again. If it wasn't because Joe had already residual income coming, that would have been a disaster. Joe had to stay home taking care of Joey, my first son, for me to be able to relax and just focus on growing my baby girl and keep her inside so she wouldn't be born earlier either. But we were in a more comfortable situation where, and we kept telling each other, like, this is what residual income is all about, you know, to be able to give to your family, to be able to be for your family, to be able, like, if you have to take 2 weeks off for whatever reason you can, to be able to now, Joe, be able to be on all my son's practices and all their games without having to sacrifice now that part of the parenthood. It's just so worth it. And it's not if someone doesn't have kids but they have a wife, to just be able to go to that family reunion, to just say, like, it's good, let's go. Everything else is figured out. The check will come anyways at the end of the month. And if you want to be there, just get to work. So and back then we built it the hard way. So, like, nowadays be able to build that residual in this industry is 10 times faster than what we had to do to be where we are now.
So by the time you were in your second pregnancy, you were in a much better place. And would you say by that time, obviously what you just said, you were fully on board with residual income, and we're not even to where you're at now, but that was a good moment in your life probably where you said, okay, this is worth it, right?
Good cover, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it was way faster by then, and because of time frames, and of course it's different for everybody. By then we were comfortable. I can tell you by year one, we were like, we are out of the struggle. Like, year one, happened what happened. From here, you can only go bigger. Like, the hard part is over. From here, let's just rise.
So you sacrificed for a year. You went through your doubts. You went through a lot of hardships, and you saw the results happen year after year, obviously, and you're obviously involved. Now, Pao, it's been, let's see, so you've been together for 8 years now, and you started with Joe in the merchant industry business. Obviously, you started with him doing that. That's where you guys started with this business is Joe. Joe had a lot of pressure, right? He had to go to work. And he was already self-driven. He had to make sure he took care of your family. Have you ever had to work?
No.
And listen, Pao, let me tell you something. I was raised by pretty much all women, my aunts and my mother, and the job of a mother is 10 times harder than the job of anybody else, in my opinion, number one. Okay? So it's not like you don't have a job. You are the king of the castle, basically. Well, the queen, okay? So there's a lot that comes with that. So what I mean by that is don't take that condescending. My question to you is, have you ever had to go out to work to get money to provide for the family with residual income
never.
And what Joe's done? Never.
No, never. And I want one more kid, and that residual income just keeps growing. So I'm not
well, hey,
not concerned about it.
I think every year that you guys make more residual income, you should celebrate with a new child.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's no concern. And you know what? Like you were saying, it has been coming on 4 years, not quite yet, that Joe stopped traveling that much. Before, that's all we knew in this family. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying it was fun. I'm not saying it was super cool. But for 4 years, Joe was like just straight sightseeing. Like, this is what I'm doing. We started with ourselves when we were set up. His vision has always been, I want to help as many people as I can to reach this. So he was going to training. He was going to travel with others. I mean, you know that. You have heard all these stories. Yep. He will literally leave a week before Christmas because, I got to go help him out so he can make money for his family for Christmas week. And he will be gone all that week before Christmas trying to help someone get money to their table. And that's what he lives for. I mean, how can you say no when it's much bigger, not only to you, but to others? It's a compound effect. Once you are able to help yourself, you are able to help so much more people along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, not a lot of people understand that, and not a lot of people understand the sacrifices that successful people have to start off with, and you did. And not a lot of spouses or significant others, families like your family probably question, why is my daughter living in a place with no couch? And you know what I mean? And so that's really tough, right? I mean, I've gone through that myself. Let's talk about the last 3 years. All right, the last 3 years, starting with this summer, was it all worth it, and why?
It has been so worth it. I mean, this summer we were able to build a dream that we have been talking about. My kids we were gone for a full month on a road trip all over the United States. No worrying about a thing, if you want to put it that way. After we came back, I was here. I did laundry. I went to Mexico for a month. Joe was able to meet us down there. We went to family reunion, doing again, like no worrying about it. We came back, and tomorrow I'm leaving to a resort on the other side of Florida on a dance club trip from our school to get the kids ready for school, like we haven't done enough. But it has been extremely worth it. Like we can go now. Like I said, not to sound braggy or snobby because that's no intention, but like when we take our kids to Disney, we like to go when everybody's at school so the lines are not as long. And we got all those privileges now to just say like we don't have to give excuses or ask permission for anybody. We just do whatever we want. And of course we still have goals, and of course we always have dreams. I mean, you cannot just get stuck. We always have to be chasing or trying to fish the next thing. But it has been a road that like I see it like this nowadays too, and I'm a college student. So for me, breaking that pattern of thinking, of course, was hard. But if some people are willing to give 4 years in college to learn something, thinking that hopefully by the time they graduate, they will get a good job, a well-paid job, that will get them the lifestyle that they want. Sometimes I see people getting so desperate in this industry 2 months in, instead of trying to learn from it and knowing that before those 4 years of college will go, they will be able not to go and look for a job, but to do whatever the heck they want with their life. Like, literally.
Yeah. Well, Pao, I don't take that as bragging. I take that as inspiring. And obviously, you have been the backbone for Joe and his success, and he talks about you all the time. And I know that without you, he probably wouldn't have been as successful as he is, because I knew Joe in his party days. Okay?
Yeah, we had to put that down.
So you are the reason Joe is as successful as he is now at this point. He was successful before, but I believe now he's even more successful, and you probably keep him pretty grounded. I want to ask you a question. Do to help support him?
Well, first of all, like we always had this thing. Joe had some terrific weeks when he was like on the road and stuff. Everybody's different, but for Joe, worked the road, and we will say 1 a day, baby, 1 a day. Doesn't matter. Don't focus on the big number. 1 a day. He will have weeks where he did 20. I think his biggest was 40. But if you don't get to sign any, just try to get tomorrow, right? Every day is a new day. Every day is a new day to start fresh. Joe is a really stubborn person, but I can relate. If he can do it, everybody can do it, because he will be the kind of person like, I don't know, we were living in Dallas, and he will want to be working in Seattle. He was going a lot for his gut, what his gut told him to do. And sometimes I see that as a hard part, right? All you have to do is just go talk to some people, like not sell them. You're not trying to sell them. You're literally trying to help them. Like I say, like, who doesn't want to save money? And a lot of people that I have seen going through this too, like they are so worried about knowing it all. And it's all about the confidence you talk to. You don't have to know it all to try to help people. And when Joe will have these days or these weeks where they were not the greatest, we will be like, you know what, screw that, like, erase, start new. Like, you cannot go with this attitude into the field tomorrow because it won't help you. Like, that just has to be scrubbed down and just go like today's, like he says, today's the first day of the rest of your life. And start with that fresh attitude every day.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you were there for him. You were there to support him. You were there to keep him on those days right there with him. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot of energy. But I'm sure that you're happy with where you are now. As you said, you're not financially in trouble. You're not financially struggling. It's been all worth it. And you're at a place where you guys want to be. You are in Florida. I know Joe's wanted to be in Florida since the first time he went to Florida and got back to Florida.
Since we met. We are where we dreamed. Yes. We always talk about living in Miami, and I lived in LA, I lived in Dallas, I lived in Seattle, and I'm finally home. It was not a straight line. It was a curve that got us here.
That's it. A lot of pivoting, a lot of moving in the same direction. Just sometimes you had to make a couple turns. That's awesome. So, Pao, you have been wonderful on this call so far. You've done great. You and Marilyn both. If you were to give advice to another spouse out there, I don't care if it's their wife, husband, whatever it is, what would that advice be? With somebody starting this business, what would be the best advice that you would give to somebody else, another spouse out there that's maybe looking at their husband or their wife and saying, what are you doing?
So I would think, first of all, believe in them, like really give them the support, even if you're doubting. We are not who to put into someone else our doubts, because sometimes those are our personal fears that do not belong to the person that is trying to reach the dream. So believe in them, like support them to be better. Struggle will come, but struggle will come even in a regular job. Nobody, like, trying to put yourself in that cage of perfection doesn't exist. So just better get uncomfortable for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months, and see the result of that hard work. Like, work for yourself. Like, push that person to work for themselves and achieve that freedom that we all want. Nobody can really say they don't want it, because really this is what life is about. We don't come here to be machines working. We come here to enjoy, help others, give to others. And this is really what the vision and the mission of our company is. We want to see as many people as we can reach financial free. But the financial free really is just the secondary effect of really be able to just give your potential, to be able to do the hobbies you love, to give to your wife work, the dreams of, like, the trip of your dreams. I don't know, the ring if you're going to propose. I don't know, whatever is different for everybody. So believe in them, push them, and even when they get down, because moments will get hard and people get depressed and get down, one has to stay strong to say, shake it up and go back at it again. This is one vehicle. Hopefully everybody stays on it, to just be able to go for that residual income, that to not get set up on the comfort zone, for saying like that, to just say, this is what is comfortable now, because it won't look that comfortable in 40 years when you still have to go and chase it. So that's my advice, like, believe in them, like, just push them. There's nothing to lose. Try. If you struggle, as long as you can breathe and wake up the next morning and have food on the table, even if it's not the most fancy food, we are good. The rest will take care of itself. Don't be scared to be uncomfortable for a little, to go and catch the big picture.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great piece of advice, Pao. Wow, that's inspiring. I got a little bit of chills right just then, because it's hard to find those people that are willing. The most important thing to me that you said tonight was, as somebody who's supporting somebody else, you're not supporting financially, you're supporting them in a way that keeps their attitude above water, keeps them positive, and keeps them feeling like what they're doing is worth it. You said put your own doubts aside, and that's hard for people to do that. It's hard for a spouse or a significant other to kind of put their own fears aside. And if everybody's out there listening this, and you brought your spouses, that probably is the hardest thing as a support mechanism, as a support person, to your other half to do, is to put aside those fears, to put aside those doubts, and to say, you know what, I see the vision, I see the long term, and even though we're eating top ramen in the short term, we'll be eating steaks and filet mignons in a couple of years. And a couple of years goes by really quick, doesn't it, Pao?
Absolutely. And you know even what? Like, me and Joe used to put goals. Like, even when we were super broke and we didn't have money, Joe would say, like, baby, once we sign 30 deals, I'm taking you to the best sushi place in LA. And you know what? We probably didn't have it. At that point, like, 30 deals, and we will go and have a magnificent dinner. That probably the next day we couldn't afford, like, I'd say it like that, we couldn't afford that dinner every night, but we will give ourselves a present, like, this is working. So I would say, like, put some goals into your marriage, like, you know what, once I sign 20 deals, let's go eat all this, or let's go do this, let's go dance, let's go whatever you both like. Because that way, the goal does not feel that far. If every time you are like, let's put this little money aside to just do this and celebrate what we're accomplishing, every time, as time advances, the accomplishment will be even bigger.
Oh, that's awesome, Pao. You're great. That was you've just been inspiring, probably to a whole lot of people on this call. And you know, I really appreciate you opening up. You didn't have to, obviously, but that was great. That's really awesome. I love that you were very personal about your fears at the beginning. And that's a really good piece of advice, folks. And this is something that I've heard as well in my life, what Pao just said, is celebrate the small victories, especially in this type of business where you can burn out. You know, you get that first residual check, you might not be able to go to a filet mignon dinner. But listen, as you start to grow, you should celebrate every time you build that residual. That's an awesome thing to look forward to for you and your spouse. And I think that's just a great piece of advice, Pao. So thank you so much for being on our call tonight.
And the last thing, you have never seen, like, for example, I remember when Joe was starting, I think it was like $1, $10. Don't quote me, but it was a really, really small residual, his very first residual income. And I remember him being so happy about it. His words were like, baby, these are like, let's put up $10 that I do not have to work for anymore. It's
That's awesome.
The small things that compound that will get you to the big things. And
absolutely,
it's so worth it. So worth it. Every dollar, every penny swipe on those credit cards, you're closer to your dream. Like, you have no idea. Time will go by anyway. So what are you going to make out of your time?
That's right. Time will go by anyways. So own your life, folks. Pao, thank you so much for being on the call. I appreciate it so much. Thank you again. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pao. So, folks, that was Pao Wagner, Joe Wagner, our CEO's wife. Listen, that was an inspiring story, right? For me, it was very inspiring. I'm sure for a lot of you it was as well, because obviously Joe and his family are in a place now that they've gone through that hard work. They've gone through the struggle. And for a lot of folks out there that I talk to on a daily basis, they're starting at the struggle, okay? And starting at the struggle can be tough, but as you heard, 5, 7, 8 years goes by really quick, especially if you have kids. Let me tell you, my kids are teenagers, and that's gone by very quickly. But if the time's going to go by, just like Pao said anyways, put the work in, because with this business, you can see a future. You can see your visions come to fruition. And Pao and Marilyn, again, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being on the call. Folks, I hope you have a great night. We'll see you at the top, and hopefully you get out there, you own your life, and you make your dreams come true. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next week.